a month ago.
Gregoire was anticipating some kind of stay of execution tonight, but as of yet, that has not happened. If it does happen, she plans to ask the United States Supreme Court to step in and put an end to these appeals. But again, all indications at this hour are that the execution is on schedule for 12:01. I'm Robert Mack reporting live at the State Attorney General's office in Olympia.
All right, Robert, thank you, and you'll keep us posted throughout this program and the special 11:30.
There are some residents in Washington who don't want to see Charles Campbell die tonight.
Many have gathered here in Seattle, and right now you're looking at a live picture from inside St. Mark's Cathedral on Seattle's Capitol Hill. People there holding an all-night vigil in protest of the Campbell execution.
And in Olympia tonight, there are supporters and opponents of the hanging. They are rallying on the Capitol steps.
King 5's Jim Foreman is also there.
All night, and a short time ago, to get both sides of the death penalty issue out, and they say they are here to deliver a message to the governor.
People started gathering here on the steps of the Capitol earlier this evening from both sides of the death penalty issue, but the largest contingent is here to protest the execution of Charles Campbell. They hope the governor will hear their message in the governor's mansion just a few hundred yards from here and step in at the last minute and stop the hanging.
My simple message, I guess it would be, has to do with that even though tonight Charles Campbell is a vicious criminal, a murderer, but we should look beyond that, and that we should stop the cycle of violence and find other ways to prevent crime.
Either way, somebody's going to get a message tonight, right?
It is almost certain the governor will not step in. Gary Outman brought his son here from Kent to try and make sure he doesn't.
I think that what the crimes that Mr. Campbell committed were extraordinarily heinous, and I'm kind of here to make sure that that justice is served.
Now, earlier this evening, we saw the governor's car drive by the steps of the Capitol here. He did get a chance to see what was going on. At last word, we have been told that he is at the governor's mansion. He is possibly one of those people who could step in, but as we said in my report, it is highly unlikely right now that the governor will step in and delay the execution. I'm Jim Foreman reporting live in Olympia.
Thanks, Jim, and we'll be back to you later.
In Clearview tonight, that's the hometown of Campbell's victims. Many residents are waiting for what they say is justice. They say it's been too long in coming.
King 5's Alan Schaffler joins us live from Clearview tonight with more on the mood in the town where the brutal crimes were committed.
Well, we're at the Clearview Cafe in Clearview, and normally about this time of night they'd be kicking out the customers and locking the doors. It's closing time, but they're staying open an extra 2 hours tonight. A lot of people called the owners here saying they wanted to come to this popular gathering spot and see this all through together. Charles Campbell has haunted this community for 12 years.
I think it's finally going to happen. It's about time justice be served.
Tonight, a lot of people in the Clearview Cafe have their eyes on the clock, their minds on a violent past.
I knew him when he was younger, and he's a rotten apple to the core.
Tamara McCulley brings the kids here for dinner about once a week. Tonight, they may get a little learning on the side.
Well, I think if he finally gets hung, it'll teach him something. But if he doesn't, they're going to think that, anybody can get away with anything.
What do you think about that?
That it's good that he's being hung because he killed 3 people.
It hits a little hard when it's close to home like that. I guess that's probably why everybody's up here.
Demand for this Hang In There Campbell t-shirt sold at the cafe has outstripped supply as the execution date nears.
We went through about, Shelley said we went through about 150 or so shirts, and now everybody wants them, and there's none left to be had.
I'm usually a normal-going guy and easy-going, but for the brutality and the things he's done, I think he really has it coming.
Well, I think everybody's here to send him off.
Is this sort of a goodbye party?
I wouldn't call it a party.
Now, this is a sort of community celebration of a man's passing, but a lot of people also here say that they are less concerned with Charles Campbell's death than they are with the lives of the friends and families of his victims. They'd like to see those folks be able to put this all behind them if they can. Reporting live in Clearview, I'm Alan Schaffler, King 5 News.
Alan, thank you.
Our coverage of the Campbell execution continues after this newscast. Stay tuned for 11:35, a King 5 special report called The Execution of Justice. In the meantime, we'll bring you any late-breaking new developments in the story as they unfold.
And there's much more news straight ahead here on King 5.
Why the largest counterfeit money seizure in Western Washington history has federal agents worried.
Tonight on The Tonight Show, Jay welcomes Mad About You's Helen Hunt and Tommy Lasorda. The stock market for the next 100 years.
He is one of our state's most notorious killers, a triple murderer driven by revenge. On April 14, 1982, Charles Rodman Campbell tracked down a woman he had raped before, a woman who, along with her neighbor, had testified against him. Then he murdered Renee Wickland at her home in Clearview and murdered her daughter, Shanna. And when neighbor Barbara Hendrickson came by, he slashed her throat, too.
He didn't just kill them, he slaughtered them. You know, we hear this pristine little throat slashings. He slaughtered them.
Campbell got the death sentence for the horrific crimes, but he has spent 12 years delaying the execution. Tonight, the appeals are running out, and Charles Campbell is scheduled to die.
This is a King 5 News special report, the execution of justice.
Welcome back to King 5 News. In less than half an hour, prison officials will carry out a very somber part of our justice system.
They are prepared tonight to execute an inmate, but Charles Campbell won't go without a fight. Already, prison guards had to use mace to control him. It's only the second time in nearly 30 years our state has carried out an execution. King 5 News has reporters throughout the state tonight following this story to bring you any late-breaking developments, from the Attorney General's office to the prison itself. We begin tonight with King 5's Linda Byron at Walla Walla, where Charles Campbell is spending his final minutes.
Well, Barry, Charles Campbell is spending his final minutes in a holding cell right next to the gallows, and the execution team is in place, getting ready to carry out his hanging. There are all indications tonight that Charles Campbell will be fighting to the end, as he has for the last 12 years. In fact, at a media briefing just a short time ago, authorities say when they went into the intensive management unit and got ready to move Charles Campbell out of the cell where he has been living for the last 11.5 years, he refused. He laid down on the floor, and authorities had to spray him with pepper spray to subdue him, to allow corrections officers into the cell so that they could handcuff him. Prison spokesman Veltri Johnson.
Mr. Campbell was unresponsive to a command to cuff up, that is to back up to the cuff port in the intensive management unit cell that he occupied this afternoon. And indeed we did administer pepper spray to him, at which time without incident we were able to subdue him and cuff him and transport him from the intensive management unit to the holding cell of the chamber.
After Campbell was moved to that holding cell, his cell in the intensive management unit was searched, and contraband was found, contraband that may have included homemade knives. So again, an indication that perhaps Campbell was intending to fight. Witnesses who will watch the execution have been taken into a room. There are going to be 15 of them altogether, 10 reporters, also the prosecutor who prosecuted the case, or the prosecutor, that is, of Snohomish County where the crimes occurred, and Campbell's defense attorney. In about 10 minutes, according to the prison manual, Campbell is scheduled to be moved into the gallows, and they will be getting ready then to place a rope over his head. There will be a hood placed over his head, and then he will be allowed to deliver any final words to the witnesses who will be watching this execution. After the hanging, the media witnesses will file back into the central room that you saw a little bit earlier, and when they come back, we will have live coverage, so you will be hearing their accounts of the execution.